Hey, welcome, Julio. Great to see you, buddy. It's been
Hey,
a while since we've got together. Last time, I think, in Mexico City at your apartment.
yes, sir. It's very good to see you, my friend. Long time, a lot of stories, and I love that you're taking this project to speak about all the experiences of people around it.
Okay, man. I totally want to talk to all my friends around the world that have, been contributing in one way or another. And you've done so much activism for cannabis in Mexico, arguably more than anyone. You run Expo Weed Mexico. You had the marijuana march, the million marijuana marches. And when we first met in the summer of 2000 was when you came to Switzerland and you were shooting your documentary, Mundo Cannabico. And it was really cool. It's great to see. And you wanted to help normalize it in Mexico by showing what's going on in Europe. And I was super impressed.
Yeah, I think that that helped a lot at some point because when I was a kid, there was no information about cannabis. The only source of information about cannabis was a pothead. So you had to know a reliable pothead to tell you some stories about weed, and the information that they had at that point was very poor, let's say, compared to what we have now. And I had some access to people that were smoking, and I had the possibility to observe how they behaved. And I also had the possibility to see how people behave under the influence of alcohol, and there was a very different parameter. So, but also in that time, the media was talking about the evil plant and stuff like that. Even that in the society was pretty well accepted, it in the media always was, they never said something good about it, and but also in the old traditions that you always hear that the grandmas used to macerate cannabis with alcohol to relieve the pain of their arthritis, and some muscle pains. So that's my mom used to tell me that also her grandmom had asthma, and she smoked once. I mean, she saw that she smoked when she had a asthmatic crisis, and it was like a herbal remedy for them in the tradition, and not in the city, in a little village in Mexico, back in the day. And so always we had this tradition. Like the plant has been a company of the Mexican population, but also there is this uh, noise around it, and also it has been a tool of control. The authorities have used this excuse to be uh, to be after you and to search you and stuff like that, like a control mechanism. And as the plant is so, the smell is so loud, let's say, it's easy to how do you say, to point to the people that is smoking. It's easy to stigmatize, and it has been a long road since we started with activism in Mexico. uh, a lot of things happened in these about 25 years that I've been working for the plant, and I see some how do you say, some progress. But also at this time, I see that everything stopped, and some are taking this and as excuse to still have control on the population and stuff like that. But I think that we did some progress here in Mexico. Now you are able to get a permit to grow your own and to carry certain amounts of personal use. You can travel in a plane carrying your plants and or your flowers, let's say. And that's something that in back in the day was not most wet dream, you know.
Oh, I think you've got a dirtier mind than that. So, do you think that the progress in Mexico is being held up by the forces that profit from its illegality?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are many dark forces, let's say, in Mexico that just don't allow that we can take advantage in an official way of this beautiful plant because we are not even taking advantage of hemp, you know. Uh, Still is we've been in the with the legislators, with the senators, with all the people. We have a little museum in Mexico City where we are showing the different possibilities that the plant has. We show that you can make textiles, building materials, plastics, cosmetics, food, textiles. Yeah, I said textiles already. Uh, and we brought all these things to the Chamber of Deputies and the senators, and we showed them, and we had conferences there trying to explain the possibilities that Mexico has if they could allow the hemp just as an industrial material. And I don't know. I think that they have like orders from above, let's say, that they should not pass this kind of initiatives, and we are stuck. We had a lot of hopes around year 2015 that a regulation, a complete regulation, was about to come, but nothing happened. Uh, People says that the army doesn't want that this happens, and that makes sense to me. And yeah, it's very complicated. I think that I can hook you up with a political specialist that can tell you more details about this because it's very complicated.
It usually is.
Yeah,
I know there was something in Mexico where certain people were granted injunctions for various things. Like there was one movie star I remember that got an injunction to have his own Yale and stuff for personal development or whatever. But it's a different legal system, I think, than people in the US are used to, or people in Canada, or people in the UK. Every place is different, but it's quite
yes.
different. I think that injunction system. So it's interesting.
Yes, here in Mexico, there was a strategical litigation that some lawyers made, and they fought for a human right that is the free development of your personality, and that includes the possibility of smoking weed. And then they got this, I don't know the word in English, but it's jurisprudency, maybe, jurisprudencia, that is, if they had like five uh, trials in the same positive way, then it becomes a jurisprudence, and it's good for all the population. So since that moment, people are able to ask for the permit to consume cannabis for recreational purposes, and then the authority normally denies that permit, and then you go to a trial, and because of this jurisprudence, you can get that permit.
Okay. Yeah, very different. Very different. And I know you keep your eyes on what's happening around the world, but you're very active in the Latin world, going to all the Spanish speaking countries and plus Brazil and that, and you're staying on top of what's developing all over the place. I think, for a go to person, of what the scene is really like in all these places. I always love hearing your stories when you're getting back from Buenos Aires and checking out the clubs or all, every time we talk, you've been somewhere new and you're telling me something interesting. So I think,
Yeah, I am lucky to be traveling around since I met you. In year 2000, I went to shoot this documentary called Mundo Canábico, and since then I start meeting very interesting people, like like Mr. Nice, Dr. Jeffrey Guy in London, people in Italy, people in Spain. We also been editing Cáñamo magazine in Mexico. So Cáñamo magazine has its origin in Spain about 30 years ago, and we've been collaborating since then. Um, First, I started writing and making some pictures for the Spanish magazine, and then we made a local edition in Mexico in the year 2015. And that always has been an excuse to travel around to try to get some new stories for the magazine. We traveled to Morocco, we traveled to Brazil, we traveled to United States, California, of course, Colombia, and yeah, of course Europe, Amsterdam, and yeah, many places and many friends around, many stories. And we've been sharing them since then through the magazine and through our different platforms. Also, we've been doing Expo Weed in Mexico for 10 years. Last year was our last edition. Now we stopped a little because the situation in Mexico is not comfortable to work as we were doing. So we decided to stop for a couple of years maybe, and maybe we'll retake the expo or with a different format, maybe with a more official format, not so open, more business to business event. But we are thinking about that, and we are also having conversations with some other people that organizes events in other places of the world. I am also collaborating with a couple of expos in the United States, uh, also in Argentina, in Chile, and also we have very good friends and plans to do stuff in Brazil. Also, we are very good friends with the people that organize the expo in Uruguay, and yeah, the scene in South America is interesting right now, I have to say.
yeah, it's really always evolving.
Yeah,
What
yes.
what would you rank in South America? How would you rank the permissiveness from most to least?
I think Uruguay would be the first because you can smoke in the street, let's say, and it's no cop will come to tell anything. Argentina maybe is the second place, or yeah, and it also depends of the area. But I think that in yeah, Colombia is also very permissive. You know that
How
Mexico not so much.
how about what's going on with Chile? I know they have expos, but I think it's still a bit push and shove.
In Chile, there was a boom about maybe 10 years ago that they opened thousands of grow shops. And through the magazine and through the expo, the people in Chile were able to establish the legality of the seeds because it's a for collectible use, you know. Uh, and so they started a seed commerce, and there was a boom for a while of grow shops popping here and there. But after a while now, let's say that the thing has been evolving worldwide, and for example, you can see that in the States as well. And when dispensaries started to open, people stopped growing, you know? So people don't want to spend their time growing a plant if they can just go and buy it. And made by professionals most of the time, right? So the quality and I think that they put it in a balance, and people it tends more to buy the final product than to grow. So the grow shops have been disappearing, and dispensaries and associations started to how do you say to appear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's an evolution, you know, of the
Yeah,
scene
that's
there.
happening in Chile. That's happening also. Yeah, here in Mexico we had a few grow shops, and I think that now they are closed, and people is buying their stuff in the black market normally. That I think that works for the government somehow.
Right, right. I was in the Yucatan recently, well, in Quintana Roo, and there was very open sale. I've never seen that in Mexico before, but very open sale with smoke shops in all the touristy areas. And they just say smoke shop outside, but you come in and they've got bags of flour behind glass, you know, and
Okay.
cartridges and everything. I was kind of floored. So I'm like, well, somebody's getting a little love on the back end for this to be open, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that's but I was pretty surprised, and they had Mexican hydro, which I had to just try, you know, with when in Rome, right? So that was funny. The but I was just happy to see that, you know, they were able to make it work, as it were, you know.
Hmm.
Mexico always makes it work one way or the other, it seems, you know.
Yeah,
There's never a day without weed in Mexico, you know.
thanks God.
Yeah, crazy, crazy. But I know what you're saying about whenever there's availability of finished product, seed sales plummet because most people would rather buy it than grow it. That's the same with tomatoes, you know? And
Yeah, but also we have to understand that we have a like a global perspective. We saw that phenomenon happening in other countries before. And for example, now in Argentina there are like 600 grow shops, and that's a good number, let's say, compared to Mexico that maybe we have five. I don't know.
are there any social clubs open in Mexico?
Yes, there are a few, and a few closed, and yes, there are a few. I just know a couple, but I think that also in the different states they have their own efforts, because at the end, it's is what we can do. Let's say that you have your permit and you have the right to have an association. That's also a right, let's say, and then you can bring some other friends with the same interest, and they can set a facility and grow the plants for the group of people. So this association has the right to grow for themselves and to provide themselves with the product,
That's nice.
because it's personal use.
It's a co-op.
As long as it is respected as personal use, I don't think associations would have any trouble. The trouble comes when people wants to make fun out of it, and they say like, okay, you can come for one day, and if you're a tourist you're also welcome, and stuff like that. If the associations work in a strict way, they will be okay. But if they start to play around, they can get in trouble easy.
Gotta watch your P's and Q's wherever you play, that's for sure. What do you think Paraguay's moving along, right?
Yes, I just spoke with one of the persons that will organize the expo about cannabis in Paraguay, and it seems to be a very permissive country, and they don't really care so much about weed, you know.
Right.
And but also, I think it represents an opportunity. But I think it's not an easy country, you know. It's not like I let's say it's not a country that is famous for its touristical infrastructure or something like that, you know. So at that point, we have to see. I would like to make some exploration. I have a very good friend from Brazil, Matias, that he has actually a recent TV show called De Ponta a Ponta. You can watch it on YouTube, and he traveled to Paraguay to know the people and how the flowers are processed and how is that horrible crime of making beautiful flowers bad, to transport them and to get them to Brazil, you know, because in Brazil you can only get like this pressed weed. I mean, you can get more different stuff for sure, but the people, the flowers that people smoke over there are pressed and are sometimes with fungus or different kind of contaminants or solvents or
There's some connoisseurs there too, making proper stuff. I've seen it,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and I know some even like making high end fresh frozen rosin and that. That's
yes,
just
yes,
gorgeous. You know,
absolutely,
they're dabbing on the beach, but I know most people are smoking brickweed for sure. You know,
yeah,
but yeah, Brazil's a crazy place, and it's a humongous market. And I know they've got like some
yes,
the first medical stuff happening, and they had with the Anvisa Brazil's like their FDA type of thing, right? And
yeah,
they had to approve the all medicines had to be imports for quite a while. Maybe still I haven't kept up with it, but the I've seen some of the first social clubs opening down there through Instagram and stuff. I think there was one called Orange House or something, and they
hmm
maybe had a couple locations. So people are, you know, they're pushing the limits where everywhere more or less. The but I don't know what's I don't Brazil's somewhere I'd really like to go. It's crazy. I've been to Colombia tons of times. I've been nowhere else in South America. But
no, let's go.
yeah, I'm overdue. I would like to do a round and go to a few places. And Peru, is it moving at all? Not much.
I heard something about, but not really,
E-
not much.
Ecuador, I think commercially they just have CBD, but they have homegrown permission basically. Like I don't
Yeah,
remember.
they did something recently. I think
Yeah,
they had an event recently, and I think that they are pushing it in the right direction.
how about in the rest of Central America? And Costa Rica's done. It's got licenses there. You know, you can do some things in Costa Rica, but you have to sell through pharmacies. I think. I don't know. It's
Yes,
probably
I think that Costa Rica is I never been there. I would love to go. I think it's a paradise, like weather-wise and
yeah.
tropical,
It looks gorgeous.
the beach and everything. I think, I mean, the fruit is amazing. The flowers should be amazing, and everything. Yeah, I would like to go there. I mean, maybe it's too small for me that I am used to big cities, but absolutely would like to spend a couple of weeks there for sure.
Yeah, me too. Overdue. And that's a popular place with Canadians because they fly down from Calgary. I think they have direct flights or Toronto. For some reason, not through Vancouver. I don't know. You'd think they would, but I think Calgary, Liberia is pretty popular. Anyways, the other Central American countries, I think like Panama's talked about doing some med studies, but not really I don't think they've done much there in Panama, and there's not a huge political appetite for it, perhaps, and maybe not a lot of.
For sure, El Salvador, nothing is happening there.
No, nothing's happening in El Salvador. I mean, they've all got bigger problems, but I mean, it's a pretty easy one to solve. you know, just leave us alone. That's how hard is that, right? So,
Yeah.
Belize, same thing. They're better than when I spent a winter there a long, long time ago, like in my late teens. I went and spent a
Okay.
winter in Belize, and that's there was absolutely no legal way to possess it. Now I think it's like decriminalized to carry an ounce or something like that. Don't quote me, you have to check, but I think there is some allowance for personal at this point that there never was, but you still can't grow it or buy it or sell it, or it's got to just appear from Santa Claus. I
Mm-mm-mm.
remember even somebody dumping a load when I was in Belize, and it washed up on the beach. And so the local guys had raked it up and were selling all these sandy buds. It was actually good bud. It was like sea washed. It was like black from the saltwater cure, but it only been in the water like a day or two. And they got it out and dried it back in the jungle best they could. And it was just jet black, but a little bit of sand stuck to the resin, but it was good export quality. For Central
For
America,
sure.
it was good flour. Probably heading to Texas or somewhere. Somebody even offered me a catamaran there and said, it was an older catamaran. They said, if you'll sail this to Texas full of weed, you get to keep the catamaran. I was like, no thanks. Can you imagine? Yeah, crazy. But of course, somebody will take them up on it. They'll get somebody.
Yes, yes.
It was always an adventure down there, that's for sure. I mean, we had such a good time when I visited you last in Mexico City. I think twice I visited you there, but the first time we just went to a museum and got out for lunch and stuff. And I just had a layover coming and going on the way to Colombia.
We went to the pulqueria.
Yeah, the pulqueria. That's right. That's right. I love that stuff. That was so nice. And
So
it was
people,
cool.
pulque for people that doesn't know is a beverage made out of a cactus, a maguey. So this is a big cactus, and it's uh, one part of the cactus is fermented, and then it's mixed with some other fruits and with some other flavors. And but in back in the day, you get from the maguey the aguamiel. The aguamiel was the drink of the priests and the high, how do you say, the high society Aztecs, like the nobles. So people used to get, I mean, intoxicated at some point with aguamiel. And then from aguamiel, you make pulque, that is a very traditional Mexican drink. And here in Mexico, we have these pulquerias, that is some kind of cantina, like some kind of pub, but specialized in pulque.
That was super cool. I'd heard of it, but I'd never had it. So I was really stoked when you took us there that afternoon. And it was kind of a friendly rooftop patio, but when you walked up the stairs, you could see all the production areas. And they had like every fruit flavor represented, like kiwi and mango and banana or strawberry. They had so many flavors of it, and it's so
When we
mild.
when we launched the magazine here in Mexico, we made some cannabis pulque.
Oh wow! I bet I'm not shocked at all. It's next time I come, we're gonna try that. That sounds good.
Yes, sir.
I remember going out with your friend. You had a friend pick us up, and he had the pimped out muscle car with the under lighting and everything, and took
Like
us
a Mustang,
to
right?
the top Mustang, and we went out to the wrestling. Remember? That was
Yeah,
awesome.
lucha libre is always fun to see.
Lucha Libre. I remember the big beers. They were like humongous beers that they had that they were selling. Everybody was having fun. We had some vape carts with us we were puffing on, I think, and it was kind of people were just turning their eye a little bit, but we weren't like smoking straight up joints or blunts or anything, just little,
Yeah.
little carts here and there. But But that was a hoot. And then we left there and we went out for, they said, the best taco al pastor in the city. And we did, it was quite a ways, we drove half an hour or something, and it was outstanding. And I remember that soup, it had the gigantic corn kernels in it that I'd never seen. I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't even think it was corn. I was like, it looked like a dinosaur tooth or something. And you're like, that's
No, no.
nice, nice.
Yeah, we have very nice varieties of corn. And here we people have been fighting against this like Monsanto yellow corn that they want to put everywhere. And we have black corn, red corn, big grain corn that we use to make pozole. Pozole is a very traditional Mexican dish that I will tell you a dark story about it. But it was made back in the day of the enemy. So the beef that was in the caldo was an enemy.
Ooh la la.
And now we make it with chicken and pork
Or
that
your
are
enemies.
that
Yeah.
are our friends.
Depends how toxic your enemies are, I guess. Well, I'm really glad you took the time to hang out with me today and get me up to speed on what you're doing. What else are you doing these days? Do you still do your podcast?
No, I stopped. I was doing the expo constantly during during 10 years, and it took a lot of energy from me. It takes like a lot of your time, your energy, your life, let's say. And after April that I decided to stop doing the expo, I took time to rethink and to decide what would be the next step, because I have a lot of assets around the world that I've been building, and now I transforming the all the experience that I made into a consultory office. So we are becoming consultants of people that wants to open that, and also a link, like a hub or a link for people that wants to connect to each other in the cannabis industry. So I am working now with some entities in Argentina. I am hooking people from New York with people from Patagonia, and I like that kind of stuff, because I keep doing this kind of pollinating kind of work, around the world. I feel myself like a bumblebee around the world, bringing pollen from one place to another to make flowers or to make seeds all over the world. So now I am connecting these two so far away dots, and hopefully we will close a deal soon. And beside that, I am working on also. I am launching my gummy brand here in Mexico with all the compliance and with all the legal permits that are needed. And yeah, little things here and there all the time, always related to the beautiful plant.
Right on, right on. And how can people keep track of what you're doing? Do you have any socials or websites or anything you want to share?
Yes, we have a Cáñamo magazine on Facebook, Cáñamo México, revista Cáñamo México, on Facebook, and also we have Expo Weed on Instagram. And my personal Instagram is Jules Sengram. Yeah, Jules Sengram.
Okay, okay, cool. Well, man, it's always great to see your smiling face, buddy.
It's always a pleasure, my friend. I have such nice memories of you and me in Lugano, going to the social club and having fun. And yeah, you
El
you you
Gallo
really
d'Oro.
yes,
Remember the sign, El Gallo d'Oro?
of course. Yes, we still have our brand that
The
is. Like this grinder is Gallo de Oro, you see.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was a sign. There's a name of like a restaurant not too far from the warehouse in Ticino, and you were tripping out and going by there, going, "That's gonna be my new brand." I love it that you followed through on that. That's so awesome. And you were there for a few months, and it was really great to spend the time with you and get to know you. And I'm so glad we stayed in touch over the years. And I look forward to
Absolutely.
joining you on some adventures again. That would be fun.
Yes, yes. Please come to South America and I will show you around some places that I saw that are really beautiful and introduce you to some very nice friends as well.
I appreciate it. What was your favorite place in Brazil?
Oh, I love Rio de Janeiro because I've been there many times and my friends just know how to move around in a very efficient way, let's say. Sao Paulo, I like, but not so much. Sao Paulo, I think that the vibe is very strong and is not like you feel super safe.
Okay.
I would like to go to some other places like Florianopolis that I never been, and I think that there is another place that they say it's a paradise called Paraty that I would like to go. And yeah, I hope to have time, health, and life to to stay visiting beautiful places.
Well, I wish you all of the health and wealth you can ever have, brother. Super,
Thank you,
super
buddy.
great to chat with you this Sunday. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, man.
I will, buddy. Promise.
Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Good,
Bye bye.
good to see you, my friend.
Likewise.